Hey there, learners. Ever felt like you were heading down one road, only to find yourself taking a detour, then maybe another one, always kind of searching? What if those twists and turns weren't just about choices, but maybe echoes from uh, past lives, karmic threads even? Today we're diving deep into a really remarkable case study. It's someone's personal story, but it offers these incredible insights into life, death, spiritual purpose, things many of us grapple with. We're going to explore her journey from a Catholic school start into this life as a secret nun through some really big family crises, and then eventually back to her Buddhist roots.
Exactly. And our mission, really, in this deep dive is to shed some light on those experiences, using insights from the source material about karma, about theism versus self-realization. But we want to try and uncover what really shaped her path, and maybe even the destinies of her family.
All right, let's unpack this. So our subject, we'll just call her the case study subject. She starts life in Thailand, gets a Catholic education, kindergarten, all the way through high school. Then she gets her degree and actually teaches at a Catholic school for a bit. So a really strong foundation there. But then things take a turn. She takes a job, right, with an international foundation, helping kids in rural Aizen.
Disadvantaged children. And Aizen, it's a region with very deep spiritual traditions.
Right, and that's where she encounters this unique Catholic monastic community. The source calls them nuns.
Yeah, or Chimode. It translates to something like secret or dark nuns.
Secret nuns. Okay, what did that life involve?
Well, they lived in pretty deep seclusion. Their whole life was basically dedicated to prayer 7 times a day, apparently.
7 times, wow.
Yeah. And this quiet, meditative lifestyle, it really resonated with the case study subject. The source says she has this inherent desire for quietude. It even describes her as a voluntary prisoner of God during that time.
A voluntary prisoner. That's intense.
It is. And it's interesting the source says, look, this wasn't an incorrect path for her, but maybe not fully complete.
Not fully complete. That phrase really jumps out. What do you think that means in this context? What might have been missing for her?
Well, I think from the viewpoint of the source material, completeness points towards, the path to ultimate liberation from suffering, which in the Buddhist framework it presents is nirvana.
Okay.
So while the nun's devotion was clearly profound, the source seems to suggest it didn't fully tackle the underlying karmic issues or the specific path of self-purification that its Buddhist teachings emphasize. It hints she was still searching for something deeper, perhaps.
Got it. So the atmosphere there, the monastic life, it really draws her in. She starts going to their Sunday Mass. Lisa, yeah.
A Eucharistic celebration, giving thanks to God.
And after some instruction from a priest, she gets baptized, becomes Christian. Though the source mentions she'd wanted to before, but her father's passing interrupted that.
That's right, yeah. There was an earlier intention.
But then, just as she's getting ready for the full vows, life throws another curveball. A big one.
A huge one. Her father gets diagnosed with this really aggressive nasal cancer, and tragically, it spreads to his brain.
Oh, wow.
So this forces a really difficult choice on her. She's driven by what the source calls deep filial piety, quote, nugo or gatan yu. It's this profound sense of gratitude of duty to your parents.
Right.
So she leaves. She steps away from the monastic preparations to care for him for 9 months, the source says. 9 agonizing months until he passed away.
9 months.
Yeah. And the source really highlights this act. It says, look, this is a universal value. Caring for your parents doesn't matter what religion you are. It's seen as a powerful form of merit-making in itself, especially since her younger siblings were still students then.
That connection to family is such a strong theme here.
Yeah.
Her third sister also converts to Christianity later, right after marrying a Christian.
Yeah. Shows how relationships can steer our spiritual paths, too.
So after her father passes, the case study subject steps in to help with the family business, a construction business, but eventually hands it over to her younger brother. But the family's challenges, they just keep coming.
They really do. Another tragedy unfolds. Her brother contracts AIDS, and this is back around 1990. He's given just 6 months to live.
6 months. And how did she react?
Utterly devastated. The source says she couldn't pray, couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. She even thought about, sacrificing her life for his somehow.
Just heartbreaking.
Totally. And this moment, it becomes a real crossroads for the whole family. Her mother, who's a devout Buddhist, she starts praying intensely, praying to figures called Luang Pu and Grandma Teacher.
Luang Pu and Grandma Teacher.
Yeah.
Revered figures.
Yes, highly revered in that tradition. And she's consistently making Buddhist merits, these acts of giving and virtue.
And the outcome. The source reports something quite remarkable, doesn't it?
It really does. According to the source, the brother, he doesn't just survive the 6 months. He actually starts regaining weight, goes from like 35 kilograms up to 60 kilograms.
Wow. Despite still having HIV.
Despite still having HIV. By 2003, the source notes, he was even well enough to drive himself to his doctor's appointments.
That's just an incredible story of recovery. It really makes you think about the role of faith and spiritual practice in healing as the source presents it.
Absolutely. It really highlights how, within this tradition certainly, spiritual practice is believed to connect with forces that can influence physical outcomes, especially in really dire situations. The source directly credits his recovery to that spiritual power and the mother's dedicated merit-making.
But even with this amazing recovery, things weren't smooth sailing for the family, were they?
No. Discord arises. After the brother gets married and moves out, the mother is left alone. The family's kind of fractured, and the case study subject feels she can't really be the support pillar needed.
So that pushes her back towards monastic life again.
Exactly. She re-enters a different community of secret nuns, this time in Bangkok, still seeking that seclusion, that quiet life.
But it doesn't quite stick this time either.
No. After nearly 2 years there, something shifts inside her. She develops this incredibly strong, unprecedented feeling of duty and love for her aging mother, who's all alone now. And paradoxically, the source says, the monastic teachings themselves kind of reinforce this feeling, the idea that mother is a Buddha in the home.
Ah, okay. So the teaching itself points her back to her family duty.
Right. She feels this constant worry, apparently cries every time her mother calls her at the monastery. It just shows that tension, doesn't it, between personal spiritual goals and those undeniable family ties.
So the worry becomes too much. She makes another tough decision.
She does. In September 2004, she leaves the monastery again. But this time, it feels different. She commits wholeheartedly to caring for her mother, takes her to the temple, to the doctor, everything.
And this commitment, this return to family duty, eventually leads her somewhere significant.
Yes, it leads her back to Wat Phra Dhammakaya, her original Buddhist temple community, after being away for, 14 years?
14 years. A long time. And how does that feel for her?
According to the source, it felt like coming home. Immense joy, immense peace. She dives back into the merit-making ceremonies, donating to cast a golden statue of Luang Pu, helping with the top dome enshrining ceremony.
Right.
And the feeling described is profound, that she was finally doing the most correct thing. That's the phrase used from the perspective of that tradition.
The most correct thing. So this back and forth journey, it really speaks to that ongoing search for truth, for belonging.
Absolutely. And the source emphasizes, hey, returning to Buddhism, it's not like some impossible task. It compares it to regrafting a branch onto its original tree, its Buddhist root. You embrace the Dhamma, the teachings, take refuge in the Triple Jun, the Buddha, his teachings, the community.
So past choices don't permanently lock you out in this view.
Exactly. Your spiritual essence isn't defined forever by previous paths. And interestingly, the source specifically mentions her spirit became bright and sparkling after she left the dark nuns for the final time.
Okay, now this is where it gets really fascinating. Let's connect the dots. The source provides these specific karmic explanations for why these things happen.
Yes, it offers a very particular karmic lens. For instance, her father's cancer, that agonizing death. The source attributes it to karma from a past life in a previous eon, a cap, this vast cosmic time cycle.
A past eon. Wow. What did he supposedly do?
In that life, the source says he was a military strategist, and he developed a poisonous smoke from some kind of mineral to kill enemies. Not only that, but he experimented with it on prisoners of war, destroying their respiratory systems.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and the source draws a direct line. That past action led to his suffering in this life, the severe headaches, the difficulty breathing over many months. It's presented as a very direct, almost mirroring consequence.
So the suffering inflicted comes back as experienced suffering. That's the idea.
That's the core idea presented here, yes. A kind of precise karmic feedback loop across lifetimes.
And what about his afterlife? Did the source explain that?
It did. Initially, because he was still very attached to his family, his home, he lingered as what's called an earthbound deva, a pumtewa, a spirit connected to the earthly plane.
Okay.
But because his wife, the case study subject's mother, was so consistent with her Buddhist merit-making and dedicating that merit to him.
The prayers and merits we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Those actions, according to the source, helped his consciousness transition. He eventually became a handsome Gandharva Deva, a type of celestial being in one of the lower heavens, Katu Maharajika heaven, living in a small golden mansion. Apparently, he even sent thanks back via some form of spiritual vision, especially to his wife.
That's quite a detailed account of his progression. What's really striking is the point about which merits worked.
Yes, this is key in the source's explanation. The merits the case study subject performed while she was a Christian nun are described as weak merits, kushal anand.
Weak merits.
And crucially, the source states they did not reach her father, even after he became a deva. Only the mother's Buddhist merits, performed within what the source calls the correct field of merit, were effective in helping him.
So the tradition matters, the specific practice and intention.
According to the source, absolutely. It emphasizes the importance of a clear mind during merit-making and directing it towards what it defines as virtuous fields like the Buddhist community or enlightened beings. Merits from other traditions, while maybe beneficial in other ways, weren't seen as transferable in this specific context for his afterlife journey in the Buddhist cosmology.
And that dream she had, her father at the monastery gate.
The source explains that away as mostly her own mind, her love, her attachment, maybe recalling the monastery rules about outsiders. It wasn't him actually being there or wanting her to stay a nun. His liberation, the stresses, came purely from the Buddhist merits.
Okay, let's shift to her brother and the AIDS diagnosis. What was the karmic explanation there, according to the source?
Interestingly, the source attributes that directly to his actions in this life. It calls it carelessness, specifically violating the third precept against sexual misconduct, seen kor sam.
Ah, so not ancient karma, but present life actions.
Correct. It's framed as a self-invited illness in this case, which highlights that immediate cause and effect is also very much part of the picture, not just past lives.
So if it's a present life cause, what's the advice for helping him?
The approach recommended is very gentle. Patient communication, motivated by love, no forcing the issue. The idea is to help him understand and hopefully choose to return to a more righteous path himself. The source notes he has a good heart, fundamentally, and love for his mother, which are points to connect with. It underscores our agency. We can influence outcomes through present effort and compassion.
And her third sister, the one who converted to Christianity.
The source gives two reasons. First, the immediate influence her supportive Christian husband. Second, a karmic tendency. In past lives, she apparently lacked a strong aspiration to stay connected to Buddhism, making her more easily swayed in this life. Plus, she hadn't really studied Buddhist teachings deeply this time around.
What about the family arguments, the sister not speaking to her mother and aunts? Was that karma too?
No, according to the source, that's labeled a present-day problem. Stemming from misunderstanding and stubbornness, thithi is the word used, meaning ego or fixed views, the sister felt unloved.
So how to fix it?
The advice is practical. Show consistent kindness, offer help, and the mother should initiate contact, swallow her pride, essentially. The source actually says lowering your ego, your thithi, leads to a higher status. So again, it emphasizes that many problems are solvable now through our own actions and attitudes.
And the other siblings? Why do they resist the mother's temple, Wantra Dhammakaya?
The source puts that down to external influence, listening to news and media that cause misunderstanding about that specific temple.
Okay, so how should the case study subject approach that?
The advice is quite profound, really. Lead by example. She needs to fully commit to her own Buddhist practice, generosity, keeping precepts, meditation, until she experiences deep inner change, real happiness.
Ah, so her transformation becomes the message.
Exactly. That personal change, that inner peace, that's the most powerful inspiration. It's not just words, it's the language of inner experience, her whole presence. The source suggests her inherent love of peace will actually help her progress quickly in meditation towards developing this inner Dhamma body.
Her journey really touched on different frameworks. You mentioned theism earlier. Can we briefly compare theism and Buddhism as the source presents them? Because her past lives involve both, apparently.
Yeah, that's a key part of her backstory, according to the source. In a previous eon, when there wasn't a Buddhist teaching available, she was actually an ascetic Nakpro seeking truth, but within a theistic framework. Similar to the Chimyud life, but different belief system. She apparently spent many lifetimes in that cycle, sometimes even as a magical being, a Vidyadhara, in the mythical Himaphan forest.
So how does the source define theism?
It defines theism Tewaniyom primarily as praying to or worshiping a perceived supreme god or gods, asking them to grant wishes. Sometimes it mentions this involves sacrifices, even extreme ones in some historical contexts. The goal is often about appeasing or pleasing the deity.
And Buddhism, in contrast.
Buddhism, as presented here, focuses on personal action and understanding how our own mental defilements, kilesa, greed, hatred, delusion, drive the cycle of karma and suffering. The ultimate goal isn't pleasing an external deity, but eradicating those inner defilements through self-purification. Stop doing bad, actively do good, and purify your own mind through practices like meditation.
To achieve nirvana.
Right. Nirvana is presented as the complete end of suffering, beyond all cycles. Heavens, in this Buddhist view, are pleasant but temporary stops within the cycle of rebirth, fueled by merit, but not the final goal. The source contrasts the theistic approach of longing for or dreaming of a deity with the Buddhist aim of directly experiencing inner peace and the Dhamma body within oneself.
That clarifies the distinction presented. And finally, the mother. Why was she so steadfast in Buddhism when her children took different paths?
The source explains that through her continuous merit-making and, crucially, a very strong aspiration made in past lives, an aspiration to always be born and practice within the Buddhist community, following the path across all her existences.
So it's a long-term, intentional commitment across lives.
Exactly. The case study subject, while she also made merit in the past, apparently lacked that specific strong aspiration to always stay with the community. And that, according to the source, is why she was more easily swayed, more prone to searching between different paths in this life.
Wow. Okay, so pulling this all together, what does this journey mean for the case study subject now, and maybe for our listeners too? What's the way forward?
Well, I think her story powerfully shows that from this perspective, even if you feel you've strayed, you can always return to your spiritual roots. It's about using wisdom to see the path clearly, and then making that conscious choice here, embracing the triple gem again.
And that recent health scare with her mother, the collapse, the seizures the doctors couldn't explain.
The source attributes that primarily to old age, but also to a very deep, perhaps subconscious need for her daughter's constant presence and care. It's presented almost as a physical manifestation of that need.
So the healing power of just being there. Filial piety again.
Exactly. Sometimes the cure is that love, that presence, ensuring she's not left alone. It's a profound reminder.
So the path forward for the case study subject seems clear. Dedicate herself fully to her Buddhist practice, make those strong aspirations for the future, and trust her own inner change will inspire others.
Yes, and she's encouraged to view her own body as a kind of monastery in Arama, with her heart as the center, where this inner Buddha resides. Forget the past, the source advises, let go of attachment to those detours like waking up from a long dream.
It's been quite a deep dive. We've seen this intricate interplay of past karma, present choices, family love, devotion, and how different spiritual paths can intersect in one life.
It really underscores a central theme in the source, that ultimately our spiritual destiny isn't just dictated by fate, but shaped profoundly by our own actions, our choices, and maybe most importantly, our deepest aspirations. It really makes you wonder, what stands out to you about this journey? Does any of it resonate with your own search for meaning?
And here's a final thought to leave you with, something the source posed to the case study subject, but maybe it's for all of us. If every single interaction, every choice, every act of kindness or carelessness, is weaving the fabric of your future, how are you going to consciously weave your next masterpiece?
The source actually concludes its guidance for her with a very specific directive. It encourages her to open DMC channel, which is a specific media platform associated with this tradition, and to believe everything Luangpur teaches. It suggests that doing so will lead her to find a new life, the kingdom of God within you. So from this tradition's viewpoint, the path to self-discovery is presented very clearly, lying in following this particular spiritual guidance. It leaves us with that powerful idea of finding ultimate truth within through a specific recommended practice.